Hello, I'm Ollie and this is Criminally, where I talk about crime, pulp, horror, that kind of thing. Today, manga. It's the second instalment of Manga Mondays. So yes, episode 2 of my new series where I'm talking about manga and comic books on the channel. And as discussed in the first episode, I'm reading manga over the weekends and then doing a video about it every Monday. So there are 7 series that I'm going to be reading. So 7 different manga series that I'm reading through. And one of those I'm reading an instalment of every week, and that's Attack on Titan. The other ones I'm alternating between the weeks, so reading a volume every other week. And I've also got in today's video a Korean manga or manhwa that was sent to me by the publisher to talk about as well. So I'll talk about the kind of regular stuff I'm going to be reading first, and then I will talk a little bit about this as well. So let's talk about the things first that I've already talked about on the channel. So there are a couple of things here that are series that I originally started in my manga vlog that I did a little while ago, where I read the first volume of 10 different series. And then there are also 2 things that I've just started reading that were recommended to me. So the 2 things which are from that original vlog are Berserk. So, in that original vlog, I was a bit down on Berserk. I said I didn't really get why people liked it as much as they do. The first volume I didn't think was terribly strong. The second volume I also didn't think was terribly strong. So in that original vlog I only read volume 1. I subsequently went on and read volumes 2 and 3 because so many people in the comments said you need to read more of it. And because I had volume 1 of the deluxe edition, these deluxe editions have 3 volumes in each, I figured I would carry on and try those, and it does indeed get better. So volume 2 I thought was good, volume 3 I thought was excellent. So this week I have continued and I have read volume 4. So this is all about the kind of backstory for the main character. So the main character in Berserk is this swordsman called Guts, who's incredibly kind of serious and grim and just goes around chopping people up. So what you get starting in volume 3 and then continuing in volume 4 is what's called the kind of Golden Age saga, which then does continue into volume 5, I think. Which a lot of people said was, when the series really started getting good. And I agree, it does. So it's all about Guts' backstory, so his childhood, where he goes through all sorts of horrific stuff, which turns him into the person he is. So it's very, very emotional. There's this kind of relationship he's got with this father figure guy, which is really traumatic at times, but just absolutely packed full of action as well. So some great battle scenes, some great sword fights, in particular. In volume 4, this fight where he meets this character called Griffin, who I believe continues to be a character throughout later volumes. So it's a fantastic fight scene between Guts and Griffin. So yeah, I'm really hooked on this now. I can see why people like it as much as they do. I'm still not a huge fan of the artwork. I think sometimes the artwork's really good, so like battle scenes and things like that. But often it feels a bit rough to me. But people do say that over time, the artwork does improve. So still really, really enjoying Berserk. The other series that I started in that vlog and I'm continuing is Attack on Titan. And Attack on Titan is the one I'm going to be reading every week because I've got so much of it. So volume 3 of Attack on Titan was fantastic. So there's some really weird stuff going on, which I won't go into too much because it's a bit spoilery, but involving one of the main characters and their relationship with the Titans. So just really dramatic, fantastic kind of battle scenes and fight scenes between humans and Titans. It's just really, really gripping stuff. And I really like the central characters as well and the kind of flashbacks to their childhoods and things like that. I just think it's really, really effectively done. The 2 new things I started this week then, I absolutely loved both of, and both were recommended by people in the comments on that original vlog. So thanks to people who recommended these. So the first one is this Monster, which is just phenomenal. This is one of the most gripping things I've read for ages. It's so good, and I cannot wait to read more of it. I'm going to have to wait 2 weeks to read the next volume, and it's driving me nuts. So fortunately, these Viz volumes are like double size, so you get effectively 2 volumes in one, so that makes it a little bit easier. And they're decently priced as well. I think this was only like £11 or something like that, so they're quite cheap compared to some of the other manga out there. But yeah, this was so good. So it's about this Japanese guy who's a doctor who's working in Germany and is engaged to the daughter of like the director of the hospital he works in. And it begins with him getting pulled in to do an operation. So he's like an expert surgeon, and he has to operate on this famous opera singer. But in doing so, neglects to operate on the patient he was about to operate on, who's like a labourer. And the labourer dies, and he comes to feel really guilty about what he's done. But then tied into it, so you've got this quite interesting kind of emotional stuff about his job and about, you know, healthcare generally, and how, you know, certain things are prioritised in healthcare in a way that, you know, probably isn't fair. So that's quite interesting, in his kind of internal struggle. But you've then also got this storyline about these 2 kids whose parents have defected from the East. So this is set in like the 1980s. So their parents have defected from East Germany, and have subsequently been murdered. And the son has been brought into hospital because he's been in the attack where the parents were murdered. He got shot in the head, and the surgeon has to operate on him. And it then, after that, skips forward like 8 years, and it's about the surgeon trying to track down this kid and his sister for various reasons which I won't go into, but there's like a string of murders which he believes they're involved in. Just phenomenal stuff. A really, really great thriller. I enjoyed it so much. I've not read this kind of thriller for a while, so I don't know who it reminds me of exactly, but it's a bit like, it's almost like a bit like a Robert Ludlum book or something like that. That kind of big kind of espionage type thriller, but with a kind of everyman hero, which was really popular in the 80s. I just thought this was fantastic. I really, really liked it a lot. The other thing I read, and I read this on Kindle because it's on Kindle Unlimited, is Vinland Saga, which again is fantastic. So Vinland Saga is a historical manga about Vikings, and it reminded me a lot of the TV show Vikings, which my wife and I watched recently, which we really enjoyed. So Vinland Saga it's got fantastic battle scenes and things like that. And so about, you know, Vikings marauding across England and having battles with people, or not even just England, Europe generally, and having battles with people. And in particular follows one guy who's like a young man who's just really determined to get on. And I won't spoil it by telling you the twists and things like that, but it's got some fantastic twists in it. So the first part of it is him involved in this battle, and it then skips back to his childhood and his relationship with his father and what happened with his father, where there's like a really big backstory, and it kind of that takes up the rest of the volume, and I think will continue into the next volume. But yeah, really, really gripping stuff. Fantastic fight scenes, so both kind of big battles, but like one-on-one like sword fights and things like that as well. Just really, really great stuff. Really, really enjoying it. It's a while since I've read any kind of historical action type stuff, but this is just phenomenal, and beautifully, like the artwork is just fantastic. Really, really good. It also had nicely at the end a short story. I think it's going to be in every volume, but just a short a very short instalment of something set in Japan, so about kind of samurai in Japan, which I really, really enjoyed as well. Okay, moving on then to this. So this is The Horizon by JH, which is a Korean manga, or I believe it's pronounced manhwa, which was sent to me by the publisher, which unfortunately I have to say I didn't particularly enjoy. So this is a story about a young boy and a young girl who are in some war-torn country, you never find out where, who kind of find each other. So, you know, their families have been killed, and they're kind of struggling through the wilderness, and they find each other, and then meet this strange guy as well who kind of tags along with them and won't let them get away from him. And it just felt to me very heavy-handed. So some of the artwork is really nice. I don't know if you can see that. So I mean, it's quite stylized in terms of the depiction of the children in particular, but it is effective. And at first I was quite getting into it. It's nicely done. It's, it kind of illustrates the horrors of war and so on and so forth. But the more it went on, the more it felt like just loads of kind of heavy-handed allegory. It reminded me a bit of The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho, which is a book I really detested. So yeah, if you like that kind of thing, you might enjoy it. But to me, it just felt like it was constantly trying to make points about things rather than telling a story. And also, it is a very thick book. I don't know how many pages it is, but it's probably like 300 pages. And very little happens in those pages. There's very little dialogue, and when there is, I thought the writing, the writing of the dialogue and the descriptive passages in this book, I thought was really quite weak. And I don't know if that's the fault of the translator, or if that's or if the translation is accurate and it had that kind of heavy-handedness originally. But yeah, I'm afraid I really just didn't enjoy this at all, and as a result, I'm afraid I can't recommend it. I have got a couple of other manga sent to me by the same publisher, so I'm hoping that I will enjoy those a bit more. But yeah, this one I'm afraid wasn't for me. So I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know if you've been reading any manga this week. Next week I will continue talking about Attack on Titan, so I'll be reading another instalment of that, and then flipping back to Spy X Family, Chainsaw Man, and best of all, Blood on the Tracks. Anyway, as always, thanks very much for watching. Hope you're safe and well out there. Hope you're reading good stuff, and I'll speak to you again very soon. Cheerio.